Welcome to the channel of NZ Justice 111. This is episode 7 in the series, The Names of Who Corrupts New Zealand and What They Don't Want You to Know. What you're about to see has been taken from diary notes written by Lisa that gives a step-by-step account of the events as they unfolded. Without delay, here we go. As you saw in episode 6, Mr. Tim on the 7th of April 2009 sent an email to the Bank of New Zealand on Senior Sergeant's behalf, which had unjustly caused the cancellation of all 3 pre-approved loans granted to Lisa's trust. On the 8th of April 2009, Lisa received a letter from Mr. Tim threatening her with legal action using the Property Relationships Act. Here is a screenshot of the relevant parts in Mr. Tim's letter, where he is demanding Lisa pay Senior Sergeant $205,000. In this letter, you can also see a Ford Territory. This is the vehicle Lisa's trust was still paying off after she had been tricked by Senior Sergeant into refinancing his police credit union loan of just over $57,000 for that vehicle, as you saw in episode 5. After receiving this letter, Lisa immediately went into her law firm Rice Craig with the half-signed prenup that had been signed by Senior Sergeant and Christopher Lynch, which Lisa had been given by her former barrister's wife, Christine, in 2004, as shown in episode 2. By signing this agreement, Senior Sergeant had legally agreed not to lodge any claim against the property owned by Lisa using the Property Relationships Act. Not only did Mr. Tim assist Senior Sergeant to lodge using the Property Relationships Act, which only applies to couples, a legally absurd claim over a property which title clearly confirmed it was owned by a trust, Mr. Tim, if the property had have been owned by Lisa, assisted his client to breach a legally binding document he had signed. As proof of this breach, here is a screenshot of the relevant part in the half-signed prenup given to Lisa in 2004, which part is exactly the same as the fully signed agreement. The property the agreement refers to is all Lisa's property listed in the agreement. The Act is the Property Relationships Act. For the benefit of doubt, here is a screenshot of Lisa's property listed in the prenup, which also legally entitled her to sell any of her property and still retain the proceeds as her own. Lisa later went on to gift those proceeds to her trust, as you were shown in episode 1. The same day Lisa delivered the half-signed prenup to Rice Craig, she was emailed and told Mr. Tim was claiming she had never signed the prenup. Only his client, Senior Sergeant, had. As proof of this, here is a screenshot of the relevant part in the email sent to Lisa. What is so damning about this email is that Mr. Tim admitted to a law firm colleague that his client had signed the prenup, hence agreed to its terms, which meant Mr. Tim had assisted his client to breach that agreement by lodging a claim on behalf of Senior Sergeant using the Property Relationships Act against Lisa. As soon as Lisa found out she was being accused of not signing the prenup, she immediately contacted her former barrister, who had acted for her in 2002 regarding the agreement. After a brief conversation, Warren Simpson hung up on her. Lisa then asked Rice Craig to write to Warren Simpson, requesting he urgently send a copy of the fully signed prenup. On the 9th of April, Rice Craig forwarded Lisa an email which they had received from Warren Simpson the day before. In this email, Simpson records gross falsehoods against Lisa, one being that she admitted in 2004 to holding both hers and Senior Sergeant's copies of the original prenup. Simpson also forwarded a copy of his 2004 fax that he had sent corrupt barrister Christopher Lynch. This channel has already exposed to you in episode 2 the lies and deception committed against Lisa in 2004 by this man who hides behind the title of barrister. His conduct in April of 2009 against Lisa is just a continuation of his dishonest and deceitful conduct he used against her in 2004. As soon as Lisa learned that Christopher Lynch had been sent a fax in 2004 by her former barrister Warren Simpson and what she had been accused of, she immediately contacted Christopher Lynch, who had been her professional trustee for her trust at the time Lynch received the fax. After many telephone calls made to the Lynch law firm, Lynch, on the 28th of April, finally admitted to Lisa that he had received Simpson's fax. Lynch also admitted that he had told Senior Sergeant about Simpson's fax and what she had been accused of. As Senior Sergeant had never mentioned this to Lisa, one can only imagine how devastating it would be to discover such deceit by a partner, especially if you had children with them. After learning about what Warren Simpson had done, and that her professional trustee, Lynch, had kept quiet about it, Lisa then filed New Zealand Law Society complaints against both men. This was an absolute waste of Lisa's time and energy, as you will learn as we go through this series. On the 11th of May 2009, Lisa's law firm sent a letter to the BNZ advising Senior Sergeant's false claim had been removed off the title of Lisa's trust property. The letter records the Matrimonial Property Act, which is another name for the Property Relationships Act. Lisa then instructed a new law firm to get away from Mr. Tim, who worked for her and her mother Rose's long-standing law firm, Rice Craig. Very shortly after, Senior Sergeant was advised by Rice Craig to find another law firm to act for him. On the 15th of April 2009, Lisa's new lawyer, who shall remain anonymous as they are an honest legal practitioner, sent a letter to corrupt barrister Christopher Lynch asking him to release all files, etc. belonging to Lisa and or her trust. True to form, Christopher Lynch deceitfully kept 13 of Lisa's files without telling her new lawyer. This is a gross breach of professional trust Lynch did against another legal practitioner. In the next episode, you will see absolute proof of this dishonest hiding of files by Lynch to unlawfully assist Senior Sergeant in court against Lisa and her mother Rose. After Rice Craig had sent a letter to the Bank of New Zealand on the 11th of May, confirming Senior Sergeant's claim had been removed off the title of Lisa's trust property, and while Lynch was unlawfully hiding files, Lisa and BNZ representatives had been having ongoing discussions, whereby the BNZ had agreed to unfreeze the equity held in Lisa's trust property and reinstate the 3 pre-approved loans granted to Lisa's trust. On the 20th of May 2009, the purchase of the first investment property was finalised, using the equity in the trust property to cover the deposit. Just as Lisa and her mother Rose had done with the trust home, they also fixed the interest rate for 2 years on the mortgage for the new investment property. As soon as the documents were all signed and the purchase for the first investment property had taken place, the Bank of New Zealand refroze the equity held in Lisa's trust property and cancelled the other 2 pre-approved loans with no excuse offered up as to the reason why, apart from it was a commercial decision of the BNZ. BNZ representatives also threatened Lisa and her mother Rose with a charge of over $40,000 if the trust, by going to another bank, broke the newly fixed 2-year interest rates Lisa and her mother had just signed for the Bank of New Zealand mortgages held over the trust's main home and its new investment property. It is NZ Justice 111's opinion that the Bank of New Zealand fraudulently misrepresented its position to unjustly lure Lisa and her mother into signing contracts between Lisa's trust and the bank that Lisa and her mother would not have otherwise signed had the BNZ disclosed what they intended to do after the contracts had been signed. The Bank of New Zealand's commercial decision, which dishonestly trapped Lisa's trust, completely destroyed, by the total freezing of all equity, the trust's ability to maintain its income solely derived from the buying and selling of real estate. While the bank was unduly denying Lisa's trust the right to earn an income, her trust was carrying a huge debt of over $200,000 owed by Senior Sergeant, as you saw in episode 5. In addition to this, Lisa's trust was also being forced to pay the monthly repayments to the BNZ for the loans the trust had borrowed from the bank on Senior Sergeant's behalf, which NZ Justice 111 also showed you in episode 5. Even more dire was the fact that Lisa's trust held her entire life savings and a substantial portion of Rose's life savings, $234,000. These funds could not be touched due to the BNZ's entrapment of Lisa's trust. As each episode is released by NZ Justice 111, you will see more and more BNZ representatives, including the bank's lawyers, criminally aiding and abetting Senior Sergeant and Christopher Lynch to steal Lisa and her mother Rose's entire life savings. This now ends episode 7. Look out for episode 8, where you will see unequivocal proof of, but not limited to, Christopher Lynch's criminal conduct in family court to do with Rose's loan document he never completed, but lied to Lisa that he had. Until next time, keep safe.